Hey, this is Robert from DSP Plug. DSP is a powerful, very lucrative tool, but people, they all have quirks. And sometimes countries and people don't always see eye to eye. And in history, there's been many times where a warfaring country who didn't stop being at battle would find that they would lose factories which would move abroad. And because of this and many other factors in the past, countries would lose in the past historical technology that they had. Without the togetherness, without the camaraderie, technology can die, did die, has died, and becomes again, each time more neutral, each time more labelless. If people willing, this really is a time where slowly over decades, we begin to use digital signal processing to on a practical level, right? How do we avoid our countries falling into obscurity? All of our countries. How do we avoid someone just walking away with all of our math that we've collected, hoarded, guarded? It's a really tricky one, and in this video, I'm going to touch on that. Every country and every industrialist who's come up with methods, they have the intellectual right to say what's theirs and what they design. They might have had hopes and dreams towards a good end for mankind. And to that end, every inventor has the right to have a patent, to have an identity. And sometimes industrialists have been from afar in old countries and new countries. They become part of a country. It's a difficult thing. Religion, too. Priests, imams, sheikhs, viziers, even torturers. There were torturers who used to prolong life, and not a pretty thing, but sometimes people had plague or ailments that were impossible to survive, and the amount of medicines that we had were few. But now we use some of those ideas to make ourselves live longer. Sometimes right in the food. It's weird. But when you talk to old people who know something about religion and science of old, doctors of old, you know that the old word doctor used to be someone who helped your passing rather than someone who cured you. Do you also know that the doctor word that we use now as a medicinal person used to be witch? We charge people with witchcraft these days, don't we? The word switched its meaning. Now, doctor means witch sometimes. and witch means, or doctor means witch, and witch means the old doctor. It's strange. It's bizarre, but it is true. It is true. What would you do if all of your crops were sullied somehow and you had no choice but to eat them because they'd been in a silo? They'd have to find ways that people could eat the food if, let's say, their country was under siege, even if it was poisoned, even if it was spoiled. There are so many shadows from the past that we've attempted to ignore, haven't we? All society, we're just trying to survive, trying to get forward, right? And you can't just forget it all because it's math. And there was math at one time for all of these things. Math that can do anything, math that can save, math that could lead to some amazing, extraordinary radiation somehow that would do something amazing and incredible. Math that could clean food, make it safer. Math that could reduce E. coli, germs, right? Like staphylococcus, very common. Like the old condition of typhus and polio. Could be that there are radiations and types of electricity that can treat these things. Where are all of our old churches? What right do they have to these things? Some of them have extensive records. But the scary part is what happens when we make all of those records together. Who's reading them? Wow, that would be some really paranoid thinking. You'd have this gigantic database of technologies. Do we make it freely available? In the back of our minds, is there some kind of alien contingent? I'm just saying for the sake of argument. Is there some alien contingent that wanted to see all of our technology and all the math that we'd created? And that's why we've been prompted to do all of this. God knows. I know that after hearing about stories of old wars, maybe, I don't know. I doubt it, but it could be. And that's what intelligence and soldiers and priests do, don't they? They think about all of these things, all these plans and these saboteurs. It's frightening. It's very frightening. The very idea of having all of our technology written down in some database is spooky. Someone could just walk away with that, couldn't they? They could just forget that we ever lived on the planet Earth and scoot us on to some mound, burial mound, and then just laugh and say they're the greatest and we have everyone's technology in the world and that's that. And we're better than you and now you're bad and you're in the ground. It's kind of pessimistic thinking, but that's kind of what somebody thinks when you think about all of this. So don't think that I'm a host and person who doesn't see these things. I do. It's very frightening. There used to be protection committees, as far as I know, and they used to go through insurance long ago. I've heard this in passing. Saying words like being bonded, words like having a patent, for instance, or having a bank insured design or technology, that sort of thing. There's lots of them. A, a lot of them, though, have fallen into obscurity. It's a shame because there are so many dreams that we have of making all of these things. We all said to ourselves, I think, at one time, maybe we'll be good enough. Maybe we'll be benign enough to use all these old ideas. We can collect them, right? Were we judging ourselves when we had so many wars and lost all of our records, all of our books? Maybe kind of we were judging ourselves. We were saying we were kind of a good, bad people sometimes, right? Yeah, I see it. I see it. But you kind of got to put your toe into the pool, don't you? Kind of got to dip your foot into the cold water at some point. It's cold, that water, unforgiving. It would be a real challenge not to be paranoid and skeptical. Sure, I don't think anybody in the world has the right to demand radical acceptance for any idea because it's a very frightening thing, but ultimately, I guess if this universal law thing happened and this RIM thing happened, if people could walk away from a fight, I think they'd be pretty satisfied as long as they had their money, I think, in my opinion. But I would say likely rather than telling people to make new infrastructure, there's likely quite a lot of existing infrastructures that have and do exist that hold all of these old patents and all these old maths and all these old designs, but to curate them, to put them all together and then make them industrial access, well, challenging, challenging to avoid there being some kind of upset or negative surprise. But I guess if we try and find those old fraternities and give them some funding as a people, just in general, from wherever part of the world we might be from, maybe there's some hope that this won't end poorly because that's a lot of wealth. People talk about steel, people talk about raw product. Well, you could make everyone forget that these technologies existed. Imagine how you could capitalize on it. You could pretend to be anyone. You could pretend to be some leader or religious icon. Imagine what you could do. Very free. If, let's say, you brought some kids to an island, you could make them believe that you're Dr. No, and we'd have to call James Bond to protect the world and save us all, wouldn't we? That'd be frightening as heck. Imagine, the stories you hear, like that doctor guy. Um, he took people to some place like a jungle, sort of like South America or something. It was in the 60s or 50s or 70s or 80s or something. He was told that he was brainwashing everyone. And maybe it's true, maybe it's not. The very concept of it, in the same light with people with all these technologies, could frankly raise kids that would be an army very, very frightening because they could prove to these kids that they had technology beyond anyone. That would be a scary thing. So, with all of this knowledge, you got to protect it somehow, don't you? You got to protect it somehow. So, ultimately, when I envision these electromagnetic pivots, I had that in mind. And I also realized that sensors are much the same thing as cameras. It would allow us, to have some algorithms that aren't necessarily watching everyone, but listing off things that you do and probably not charging you. Probably not. It would probably not be strict at all. The system would be watching and looking for sedition, groups of people gathering, doing something illegal, hurting us, maybe doing terrorism. That would be bad. And those people would get picked up. And yeah, like people hurting another country, genocidal efforts, and that sort of thing, abusing religious protocol, that sort of thing. Yeah, I don't think policemen or women want to stare at you. I don't think in most places, I mean, in most places, but sometimes they do, to be fair. But yeah, it's like the Privacy Act that we already have, isn't it? It's private data. But in all honesty, one thing that people constantly overlook and they're paranoid of is they look at companies like Microsoft and Mac and Android and all of those things. People keep saying privacy, privacy, privacy. Well, you know what? Guess what? How is government supposed to decide what the minimum wage is or how much we actually earn without actual numbers? Without actual numbers suggesting what we want to buy, what we did buy. All of that is just guessing. We blame these grocery store clerks and owners and price makers. But in reality, they've got no numbers. Microsoft could be giving these grocery stores these numbers, showing us exactly how much money we spend, exactly how much money we have. What is the margin? What is the average? As far as I know, store clerks or owners would have to buy 2 weeks of food at different values. So sometimes they would be buying at medium wage, high wage, rich wage, and poor wage. Could they live on it for 2 weeks? Were their prices correct? It's benchmark. That comes with the territory. But frankly, I accuse Microsoft. I accuse Mac. I accuse all of you that have this private data. You should be giving it to the government. And the government should be giving it to the grocery stores. You don't have to see all that we buy. We just need averages. All of us who work with numbers, we need averages so as to be able, because we like Mac, we like Windows. It is important to collect all of those numbers, but those numbers could be in our hands. And mysterious math like we have right now could be automatically outputted by Mac and Windows and companies like Huawei who make phones. I don't know other brands of phones. I just happen to know that that is an Asian phone. We need those numbers. Every country needs all the numbers that you can give us so that it's easy to tell stores what their highest price should be. We need that. And we love computer makers. We love I'm personally am not judging computer makers or OS makers. But we need those numbers. And we're going to need this type of surveillance stuff if we actually are going to get all this technology, because we often forget we can't make all these fancy robots without all of these amazing technologies and mass of the past. And that's why we have to safeguard. This is Robert from DSP Plot. Bye bye.